The Invisible Balance, excerpt from the book The Diary of Thoughts, Volume 1. When I wake up in the morning, I have the same sensation as any other human being. At least I think that is so. I have the same instincts to surmount another day with all its moments of achievements, events, good and bad moments. I also put the same questions that are living in everybody's subconscious, which leads us to the same interrogations that represent a constant for each single intelligent form of life. For what purpose are we here? Everybody knows that every little thing that happens in life is connected to each other. The thing is that we cannot follow that logic and invisible balance that is imposed to the human being, even considering the degree of evolution and technology that was achieved by society, step by step, all along those centuries. Then comes the moment to read some articles in newspapers and books to try to follow at what point the human knowledge had led us to the conclusions of the people who are deeply involved in that type of research that conducts to numerous explanations, some from scientists, other from philosophers, even esoteric preachers. For individuals who are mere followers of all those conclusions, these explanations might be plausible, but for others, it can just represent some suppositions based on research about our origins. Some people pose the question about how scientists can pronounce themselves about natural events that occurred some millions of years ago. Infinity and eternity implies the notion of never ending, though the possible conclusions about this subject are directly correlated to this resident doubt. The fact that humanity poses the same questions about these two definitions also demonstrates that there is a direct connection between their inner instincts and this intellectual or scientific approach. These issues of infinity and eternity are related in the same way to the notions of life and death that all people have within their minds from the moment they are born. At this point, there are two interrogations on the table: why life and why death? On the other hand, as we are submitted to our reality, we are conditioned to the limitation or ignorance that was imposed on us by the creation herself. We keep on searching for answers that are substantiated under designations of science, philosophy, or religion, mentioning the usual terms of its appliance in society. These appliances had a particular goal, but were created by men, but surely not by the creation. There is one problem. Even without mentioning the name of the most famous scientists, without knowing half the percent of all the theories that are concentrated around this theme, people reach conclusions that match some results of any research in this direction, mostly because the doubt about this kind of research always subsists. If we asked Albert Einstein or any other great scientist of the actuality to put on a dashboard the formula that could translate their IQ, they would not be able to do it. By this fact, this translates the message that can explain very clearly that some things will never be explained. Also, this simple conclusion is extensive to multiple circumstances in life, mostly related to feelings and faith. As a matter of fact, nobody can translate in a mathematical way their feelings of love, happiness, sadness, joy, anger, and their natural implications, nor their beliefs about multiple religious, moral, and existential values. Scientists that won Nobel Prizes were already able to study and put in writing the behavior of man in society under the form of mathematical equations, namely their attitude within the community. Gestures, attitudes, behaviors, and reactions were goals of analysis about human behavior, but all that data was obtained from the study of movements and behaviors, but not and never from the soul of the human being. The uncertainty about these notions of infinity and eternity constitutes a motivation to go along that incredible and mysterious road called life. If we were confident about those concepts, life would be entirely different, but not forcibly better. In other words, if we knew all the answers that put us here in first place, then it would mean that we were already very far away from this dimension, though being able to understand our origins, our roots, our source, the creation, our creation. That reminds me when I knew this person a long time ago when I lived in my country. He lived in the middle of nowhere, far away from civilization, a very isolated part of the country where we could only find rocks, small wooden houses, and the simplest means to survive in an environment of that kind. One day, for personal reasons, I took a walk on those mountains, living an inner need to put questions to myself, a sort of necessary introspection, and there he was. After some moments of trivial conversation, we spontaneously started to talk about nature that led us to talk about more complex matters like our existence. At that moment, that simple guy started putting his ideas clearly out and tried to explain me in his words that life is nothing but energy and logic. Apart from that, there is nothing because those two components gave origin to everything, namely the creation. He also explained in his language that we came from a mainstream of energy, a place where we knew everything because we made part of it, and we'll get back to that mainstream of energy and logic, a concept which some people call reincarnation. No notions about big bangs or black holes, except that fundamentally or eventually they will lead us to the same place. We can call it ignorance, but there is an intrinsic notion about the basics of existence that lives inside this humble and simple human being. Those perceptions make part of that invisible balance of life. Today, as science and technology are continuing to explore all the possible roads leading to evolution, there are more and more people at every single level of society posing the same questions. They're wondering if there will ever be an answer for this inner doubt, but at the same time, everyone is feeling something that resides within us all: life. Independently of the need that society has for science and technology as a fundamental component of our evolution, let the basic and mostly existential answers be presented and explained by the creation herself, being sure that the ultimate explanation would be given when we join that mainstream of energy and logic. Let scientists do their work as a natural result that leads to evolution, as it only consists of an improvement in the well-being of humanity. All the rest makes part of the necessary mystery of life. P.S. This small, simple article was dedicated to a great friend of mine who spent his life trying to understand and teach this common subject that makes part of our lives. Professor of philosophy and writer Michael Woods deserves the respect of all the community that is interested in questioning their origins, interested to find the answers regarding infinity and eternity. Luxembourg, the 2nd October 2008. Carlos Pacheco. The Invisible Balance is an excerpt of the book The Diary of Thoughts, Volume 1, www.diaryofthoughts.com, written by Carlos Pacheco. Carlos Miguel Pacheco was born on the outskirts of Lisbon, Portugal, EU, in a town called Queluz. Son of Rui de Souza Pacheco and Isabel Maria Pacheco, he reached secondary school and stopped his studies to follow a professional career related to organization and methods, along with accounting. He married his late wife, Maria Eduarda Pacheco, on the 3rd July 1971. He joined the Army from October 1972 until April 1975, and he was classified first on military messaging services. At the age of 38, he immigrated to Luxembourg as a result of a contractual agreement, after he accomplished professional missions in Switzerland and France. At 60 years old, as an autodidact, he decided to put in writing all his thoughts, expressing, the best way he could, all his inner values, beliefs, and convictions, hoping that they would be captured and understood by some people as a message of spirituality, along with notions about love and friendship. His works reunite The Diary of Thoughts, Volumes 1 and 2, The Diary of Thoughts poems, Simplicity and Complexity, and the epic Portuguese novel, Dreams Lost in Time. He also produced the joint venture, The Diary of Thoughts poems, the audiobooks, with the prominent narrator from New York, Hank Bokema. Hank reads a great part of the poems included in the Diary of Thoughts books, written by Carlos Pacheco. This project involved their dedication and several months of hard work to achieve a 6-hour 4-set audiobook collection. Carlo's works are present at Luxembourg's National Library and also at Mersch Cultural Center for free reading. The author makes also part of the National Dictionary of Luxembourg's Authors.